And there's a place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
Right there, Camp McIntosh.
Camp McIntosh indeed, and we will be up in September. We're looking forward to yet another great weekend, depending on what you choose in terms of the stay. This year at Camp McIntosh, it's going to be a weekend of great fishing, a weekend of great food, and a heck of a lot of fun. If you want to know more about the camp, by all means, head on up to the website. Give Andre and Tracy a call. There's still lots of room available, so if folks are interested in joining us, we'd love to have you. As I say, it's going to be quite something, and that is, of course, I believe it's the last weekend of September. I don't have the dates right out in front of me, and I can't seem to read without my glasses. The other thing is, we had a notice just come up. This is why I'm a little frazzled right now. This might not be on Facebook, so for those who don't follow us on YouTube, unfortunately, it seems like that might be the only place that you're going to be able to see it. I've never seen that notice come up before. So just so folks, we will probably have to replay the broadcast on Facebook once we get done here tonight. But for all those who are watching on YouTube right now, please, if you know anybody, reach out to them and let them know where it's available. It's Scotty's Outdoors, as well as the Canadian Fishing Network YouTube page. So hopefully everybody gets a chance to see it. And as I said, I'm actually really excited. This is going to be quite a show. I'm looking forward to it. There's times when you get excited about certain topics. Tonight's one of those times. And of course, we have our good buddy, Big Jim, who's going to be coming up right after this. And then of course, Lawrence is off this night. Unfortunately, he had some prior arrangements that he had to take care of. So we wish Lawrence all the best, and hopefully we'll see him next Monday. And Jay Barnucz and myself, we are going to be joined by Mark Penner, and we're going to be discussing everything about Lake Ontario and everything about Lake Erie. So if you folks fish either one of these two lakes, it'll be a great topic for you guys to follow along. And if you have any questions, we would love the interaction. We love the comments. And as I said, it's going to be difficult because, as I said, it's not on Facebook. And I can tell just by the comments. Usually by now, I've got about 30 people that are saying hello, and everything's coming in via YouTube. So my apologies. Unfortunately, guys, I'm not sure what happened. As soon as I pressed play, all of a sudden I got this notice from Facebook, and it is what it is. So we will continue. The show must go on. And as I said, we've got lots to discuss. And to be quite honest with you, I will say hello to Rob. I will say hello to Dean, and I will say hello to Tony Sousa. Always a pleasure to have you guys along with us. As I said, it means the world to have that kind of support each week, having you folks not only share that this broadcast is upcoming, but your interaction and involvement in it every Monday. Truly awesome, and it means the absolute world to all of us. So without further ado, let's bring in Big Jim.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
What's up, Jim? How you doing tonight, buddy?
We bad.
I honestly don't know. I've never seen this notice come up before, and I don't think we've ever had this problem in all the lives that we've done. But all of a sudden, boom, it said that there was an issue with Facebook, and unfortunately, they weren't able to upload the broadcast. So right now, we are streaming live to YouTube solely. But as I said, we will make sure that we get the link and rebroadcast this after we're done, so that folks that only have Facebook will be able to watch this. But as I said, we need to go on with this because it's going to be a great show. We've got lots to talk about.
I know.
First
I
and
heard
foremost,
from just a couple of minutes. I heard you talking about. Sounds awesome.
yeah. What's been up with you? How you doing?
Well, I'm hanging in there. We got the paper almost done. We're just waiting for a couple of things. We wanted to get it finished up Friday night, but it just couldn't happen. And then we wanted it finished up today. It had 3 things to go this morning. Now I got 2. I actually got 1. There's one Tammy has to finish, but there's really only one that I'm waiting for. And as soon as we get that, it'll go over to the webmaster, and boom shakalaka, that'll be another one down.
That's awesome. Well, I know how hard.
This one's got some really good stuff in it. Like,
Oh wow! Right
yeah,
on.
we got Gord Pizer and Liam go over like that St. Lawrence River, Eastern Lake Ontario Basin smallmouth bit. I got Brosdahl in there on early season panfish and all kinds of stuff. So it's funny. I was sitting here doing a couple of things this morning, and I was, well, here, I got it right here.
Let's do it.
Come here. Oh, don't fall. Oh, God. That's what it looks like when it's getting done. Eh? Just all the pages and odds and ends and stuff in there. That's the cover.
Who's that guy? He looks familiar.
Scott Morrow.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it is. Yeah. Wow.
So we got we got a lot of stuff in here. It's really, really good. That's what I was saying about getting the Bluegill King himself in there.
Brosdahl, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
Looks the same. The boy never ages, I tell you.
He looks the same, eh?
He does. I talked to Pete Mania as well. He's another one that doesn't seem to age. I don't know what it is. They've got a fountain of youth somewhere. And,
Maine is a good guy.
Yeah,
He's sitting back. You don't see him do. He kicks around with his buddies, and I think it's his dad he's with a lot, whatever. And
I think it's so awesome. Him out fishing, especially when it's hard water season. They go out there and they got a spot where they can catch crappie right in front of the house. Eh? Yes. That's where I see him out there most. That's where he told me. He said, "You got to come down and do this with us." Eh? Yeah. I said, then I might not want to come back. He says, "That's okay." Obviously, you were a busy man this weekend, and I must say, on behalf of all the CFNers that joined you down at Tight Lines, it was very much appreciated. And of course, you were on full display and at your best.
Yeah, we were right at the front door. I had Jasper and young Chuck there, whose dad owns BKK.
Mm-hmm.
And we were right up front. I was tying jigs and talking to the kids. And Robert, that's who owns it there. And he put us right at the front door. You had to fall over to get in. So it was
now,
pretty
how long has this tackle shop been around, Jim? Has it been around for quite a while?
About 4 or 5 years. It used to be over in where I am, surrounded with ladies again.
Yes, you are, pal.
Never ends, eh?
Absolutely. It's tough being you. I don't know how you do it.
Oh God.
Well, yeah. So 4 or 5 years it's been around, and as I said, Scott's done a fantastic job.
He's just about to expand again, eh?
What, another store or just?
No, just he's taking the whole side out. They're putting in a place to do electronics rigging and all stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Well, as I said, he's got quite an array of all kinds of products and gear and technical. I saw Lee in the background; he was there as well. All kinds of stuff down there. So that's interesting that he's going to expand. Well, I've heard nothing but great things about this store. I've heard nothing but great things about Scott himself, and it's in an area that, of course, the fishing is top notch.
Yeah, well, he's right there. Where either side of the dam, where anywhere you want to go. I mean, the guys are catching walleyes down there a week or two ago. Like 5 to 8 pound fish. Like, how many do you want?
Oof. Incredible.
People don't realize the walleyes that are in the river right now.
Well,
always a lot there.
Yeah.
But when I'm talking to some of the guys that live there and like really have experience and history there.
Yeah.
Those 75 walleye days are right there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course we know it for what it is and what it's known for, which is the smallie population. We saw that during the CISA event last year, which again is happening again this year.
Yeah, well, this would actually be below them.
Oh, okay. Oh, did I get the name wrong? It's Robert.
Yeah, Robert. Scott was on the cover.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate that for letting us know. But needless to say, as I said, great little shop. If you're looking for plastics, as you can see, there's tons of that there.
They got everything.
How's the stuff? How's the Big Jim stuff?
Yeah, he's got a good bit of my stuff in there.
Oh boy, right on.
I've been at it, Like I got so many orders for fluff. Here's just one.
What? That's for one person?
This is half that's going to one place.
What?
That's half of what's going to one.
Holy smokes, Jim.
People don't realize what a phenomenon this is once you tap into it.
Holy, yeah, absolutely.
Now you know why you see companies having specific, 7'6" light rods. It's to chuck those little things on. That's what it's all about.
Well, it's maybe something that an upcoming show. If we get some accompanying video, we can explain how it works and its effectiveness, and maybe how people should throw it, because maybe a lot of people don't know.
No, most of them don't. Most of them don't. But I came across something. Just dawned on me when you were talking here. I took a snapshot of this a couple of weeks ago. Right here. This is from Grimsby Tackle, which made the mud bug, which was like the original fuzzy dice type thing,
Yeah.
that they had for fishing in the river. And they made a little jig that they call the walleye trap.
What on earth? Holy smokes. Yeah.
It's what it is. Exactly the same.
Interesting stuff.
Guys fishing in rivers.
Yeah.
That's what they were catching walleyes on,
Well, this definitely has been a craze. It's been a secret. Unfortunately, a lot of tournament anglers probably didn't want to get out because of how effective it was. And then you've got these creature baits that are the fuzzy dice, as everybody calls them, that have taken the industry by storm. And
I saw guys at Tightlands on the weekend come out with a bag.
Yeah.
One plastic bag like you get at the grocery store, like that. $500, and it was almost all dice baits.
$500.
$500. My buddy Travis, he came for the ride. I picked him up at the casino in Gant. He bought probably 2 or 3 spools of line. He bought some Tatsu line and other stuff that's fairly expensive. It's like, like $50-$60 for a spool. He had a couple of those, and the rest of the bag was plastic, all those dice. The ones that the ones that aren't dice, the ones that are I forget what the tag name them is. They're the little round balls with all the arm.
Yeah.
They've been molded out in the 3X stuff so you can use them forever. It's just absolutely, it's just such a phenomenon. It's nuts.
It is. It truly is.
Yeah, it's right back to, I would link it. Probably the most powerful thing I've seen like this would have to be probably Senko.
Really?
And before that, it would have been the Sluggo, which,
So you would rate this up there. Interesting, because, I mean, that's
beyond. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was checking everybody's basket when they're walking around, because they'd walk around. They had to come by me when they went around the corner on the big long aisles. I'd be gawking into baskets there, and I'd call them over for an inspection.
It's incredible. Well, I will say this.
Idea. Yep.
There are so many different names, as Tony's just mentioned, the Hag's prickly pear. There's so many names of these things out there. Unfortunately, of course, they've sort of taken that surname of fuzzy dice, even though it's not really a square, it's more of a circle. But I guess depending on who the manufacturer is, there's all kind of different variations.
Well, X Zone's got theirs.
Yeah.
Who else? Z-Man has like 3 or 4 different ones there. Gussie went over them one day. Yeah. He did a thing about them all of the different shapes, the sizes, but they all go back to the gaping mud bug.
Yeah.
That's what they are. That was in that ad that I showed you. That's the thing I talked about many times.
But for someone like you to say that it's on par with the Senko, like that's incredible.
For the initial impact, it's probably bigger.
Holy smokes!
Probably bigger. In fact, I would go on a limb and say it's probably much bigger. Now, whether it stands the test of time,
wow,
because it's what it is. I mean, everybody has. Do I not have one? There we go. Everybody has 10 bags of these. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Everybody's got 10 bags of those.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it just changes, Now from what I see on the weekend there, I was just blown away. I was blown away. I'd like to ask Robert Cullum and ask him how many packs of something with rubber tentacles or legs. Now there's guys got them hooked onto chatterbaits. They've got them on Nika or Jika rigs. They just
really
and catching the hell out of the fish with them too. And they've got that new one now that's about this big. They were showing it from Japan. I forget what it's called. I've just been inundated with stuff. I tell you, it's I mean, when you figure out what the first ones were when they came out with like I said, a dice bead. It was a square with 5 or 6 rubber legs out of it. Yeah. And you see the stuff that they've got now, and now they've got our buddy there at. See if I can get this to come up.
Well, you're right. I mean, they're going to come up with a whole bunch of different variations. As I said, it starts with a square, then it became a circle. Soon there'll be triangles and all kinds of different shapes.
There's just no end to it.
But on a chatterbait.
Yeah, I saw one today. They were advertising it on a chatterbait. Yep.
Holy smokes.
I mean, you just imagine the whole thing just be wiggling and jiggling for all it's worth.
Now, Jim, I have to ask: have many people that you know of, because it's brand new to me, and I've only really seen or heard folks down in the south using it. Have many Canadian anglers used it up here so far?
Yeah, they wouldn't have used some of them because most of them came out like late in the year.
Right.
But most of them definitely have used ice. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that all of a sudden the ice disappears and bass season's open and everybody's going to be throwing these things left, right, and center, because not really a lot of folks up here have used it.
No.
We've certainly used Senkos and we know how powerful they can be. But holy, that's incredible.
See, and here's I got a buddy of mine here down in the States, and he's making things that look like jigs now. There it was.
Oh yeah.
He's forcing the rubber to flare out on the jig. So see, it's a ball.
Yep.
There's no end to it. Everybody wants to use something that's got 500 legs sticking out of it.
Incredible. So this is Tony helping out. Thanks, Tony. I appreciate this. The hide up, is that Koki?
Yeah, that's the one that comes in the plastic box there. I think I saw there was several that come in a plastic box. There's the smaller ones that come in. There's a piece of wire in the box, and there's 2 of them on it. Like they slide them on the wire, so they don't get bent over, I guess, or whatever. But I mean, Z-Man's got them made out of their plastic now, eh? So
yeah,
theoretically, unless it gets pulled off the hook, you could put one of those on it. I mean, you could have 100 panfish going opposite directions. They're not getting the legs,
100%. And really, I mean, I've seen spider imitation plastic baits that are out there that have been very effective for bass. But
that's for largemouth and throwing it in the swamp. Eh? That's not the same thing.
And I would say that's the closest thing that I can recall seeing in the past that would be equivalent to these things. But I'm fascinated to know what they are mimicking in the food column.
It's something neat. It's highly visual, eh?
Yeah.
It's highly visual. That's why, when you just mentioned about spiders and throwing them in, I mean, I was out one of the days Rocky and I practiced together many, many moons ago. I came out with a piece of a lily pad stem on the jig, and somehow I lost the skirt. I don't know how the skirt got off, but I just had a chunk of lily pad stem on it, about this long, and it was dark green. And I took it and I put it on like a craw would be, and in the next half hour, I probably caught 3 or 4 largemouths on it.
Wow.
Just a flipping jig head with a piece of lily pad stem about size of my little finger, threaded on like a craw, and it was hanging out the back all tattered, and the way they get the stems,
yeah,
all fuzzy. So it's one of those things, you can you can always catch fish on something.
Unbelievable. Well, Tony's mentioning Yamamoto makes the uni. Yes, I've seen the uni. That one has certainly had some great marketing behind it. That's probably one of the more popular names.
Hey, Tony, do you know what that huge white one is that they have? They were showing from Japan. It's got to be like the size of my fist.
Holy crap!
And you see the guy throw it up by the shore, and it just, you see, it's white. It's there, and then it's not because it's gone down a bit, right? So, you know, and he sets the hook, and it's a big old largemouth, you know.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
While we're waiting for Tony's answer on that, Shane Richard, of course, he asked this last week, and I didn't get to it. Mangobius for perch.
I don't know what it is.
It's a plastic. I know Jay Barnucz answered the question last week. There's Tony. Tony's already got the answer. It's the hide up shrimp.
I like shrimps.
Holy smokes!
So you don't put it in bait fuel. You put it in shrimp sauce.
Oh, sorry, Richard. Sorry, Shane. It's the Z-Man Gobius. It's a plastic that they're a smaller plastic for perch. You just like your opinion on it.
Oh, there's a thing about those. Are they a dice type bait?
No.
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 Oh, anything that's small. I mean, perch and plastic go together. I did a thing when I used to write a lot. I did a thing called P&P, and it was perch and plastic. And I mean, I had like 50 different things in a picture that we took of little perch baits. And I mean, when ice fishing came, so many more small baits became available from people like our buddy at True North there, Jamie. You know, I mean, that's what the focus is on, all these little tidbits and things. And all that stuff is just dynamite for perch. But when you get a Z-Man one, you know, you take the time to get it on the jig head or the hook properly, and you can fish with it for a week, you know?
Yeah. Shane just reminded me it's a goby bait. That's what it is. It's a goby bait.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's be honest. I mean, everything right now in Simcoe or most of the Great Lakes is feeding on goby, as we will find out later during Jay's segment, how imperative they are right now when it comes to feeding our sport fish, especially in Lake Erie. I don't know so much about Lake Ontario, but definitely in Lake Erie.
Remember when they tried to eliminate them?
Well, they were certainly going down that path, and I'd like to say that I believe it's still a common practice that they want you to remove them from the fishery because of the invasive species designation that they have.
It's a waste of time.
Well, totally, especially when they're
wasting their
fish.
breath. They should be spending time doing something that would truly be constructive. Because I can take my chair down and sit on the dock here where the sightseeing boats are there, where we sit by the river, Scotty.
Yeah.
We could go down there and I could catch perch from now until the day they bury me and I get my Viking funeral and they shove me away from the dock. I couldn't even begin to get out what's in front of the river. You know what I mean?
That is hilarious. So we got Lloyd who joined us. Thanks, Lloyd. Appreciate you coming along. And of course, Terry found out as well. I'm not sure, just in case folks are joining a little bit late, I'm not sure what happened. As soon as we went live, Facebook gave me a warning and said that it wasn't able to broadcast due to technical difficulties. So we will most likely, once we're done here, replay this tonight on Facebook once we get the link created and what have you. What else is happening? Like, obviously, we're starting to see fish migrate. We're starting to see them spawn in certain areas, or at least start to stage. I don't know if the walleye have actually started to spawn in some areas. I know down in the south, in the sort of southern Ohio Valley, there's the Moya River or the Momi River. It's a popular run that we're starting to see those walleye start to stage. Muskie, there's a dam and a small waterfall in Wisconsin that they're starting to collect in there. The muskie are starting to come in great numbers.
Yeah, and they're still a ways from even thinking of spawning.
Yeah, but up this way, water temperatures are slowly going to start to climb. But Jim, I have to ask, with the amount of rain that we're getting, what does this do to the fishery? Does it do anything at this stage when fish are staging? Does it put them back?
I'm not a biologist. It can't move them along because the eggs have to mature.
Right.
But I think that's a temperature thing, a lot of it at the end, if I'm not mistaken. So it warms the water up around there. Maybe there's a little infinitesimal thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's I think it's just I don't think it really affects. It gets them active a little bit more because the water warms them up. Like I was just looking before I came on with you here, and I was looking at the amount of there's the rain for here for the next week.
Oh, it's incredible.
And they're saying like on the that we could get here, I think it's on Friday, 70 millimeters. And we're supposed to get 25, 30 tomorrow night or whatever. But I've been watching, the river's not coming up, the big river. It came up there, and like, I mean, where I go to look there at the boathouse, it doesn't lie. There's the steel ladder on the steel pole. That doesn't lie. That's where it comes up. But what I have noticed is the color of the water changing. So there's an influx of water. With the picture I posted last week of where the river comes in, and you could see it go right out that line of mud because we had the monster rain, and it hit, and the fields eventually thawed out, so it washed in all the mud right along that little creek that runs along the highway.
Yeah,
it was just, it looked like chocolate milk. It wasn't light brown; it was dark brown.
True enough.
Like it was loaded with silt.
I will say, from a walleye perspective, I like this deluge of rain that we're getting because it cleans the spawning grounds, especially in the rivers. I mean, a lot of folks will say, well, what about all the sediment and silt that it's cast down? That, well, because of the snow runoff, you're going to have that anyway.
It's been coming for a million years.
Yeah. 100%.
There's nothing you're going to change about all these things. Everybody comes up with this doom and gloom stuff every time something, happens that hasn't happened for a few years. Why do you think there's places that as a kid I used to go to, and we used to cast into it, and it's bulrushes and it's slop now. And it used to be running water because of all the times that this is just what the earth does,
Yeah.
It everything runs down and fills in the valleys,
100%. Steve's come up with a new name for the fuzzy dice. Hey, you know what our show needs more cowbell. That would be a great name, Steve. We've been talking about, of course, the creature baits, the fuzzy dice that has basically taken the industry and our angling community by storm. Looking forward to seeing how many folks are throwing that just to see if it works. But needless to say, the marketing campaign behind the fuzzy dice has been incredible. Nobody
needs to decide whether it works or not. Look at the elite guys.
True enough. Yeah,
they took a survey. They took a look in the boat. One of the guys did it, was counting the boats if they had one in the rods showing, and he got to like 35, and he said, "Well, I guess we answered our question."
I have to ask, with the popularity and of course the buzz that's going on about this bait, it now that the Senko has sort of seen its popularity grow and almost plateau, it's looked upon by certain tournament anglers that, if you use a Senko, it's like cheating. Do you think we're going to go down that road with the fuzzy dice?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
As soon as anything works. I got a real kick out of it last week because somebody got a picture of Randy Blockett fishing with a forward-facing.
I shared that with you. I said if you can, or no, you shared it with me. I think if you can't beat him, join him.
My day was complete that day. There was nothing could have brought me down. I could have found out that my credit card was stolen and it was empty.
But I have to ask you, how much trouble would that guy have gotten for taking the selfie and publishing that photo? He's definitely got a lot of flack for that.
It was so funny, some of the things that go on, and everybody knows that's how he makes his living.
Yeah.
I mean, if you chirp enough, if I started going on here and saying all kinds of junk too and wanted to have a podcast, it wouldn't be long before you'd have a couple of 100,000 people, and you'd be getting a check from Facebook every week or month or whatever it is they send them out, eh?
You wait a minute. You're not thinking of starting your own podcast, are you, Jim? I just want to know, am I hanging up my hat now, or?
Hey, I tell you, over the last couple of days here, I came pretty close to telling Tammy, hey, phone the real estate guy and tell him to put the sign on the lawn. I'm going to sit on the couch, screw it all.
Amen. I hear you, pal. I hear you. Jay just mentioned we already, yes, you've seen lots of evidence of it already. Certainly a lot of the bass events are showcasing it. I know the bait that young lad used during the Classic has got everybody wanting to get their hands on it. And I believe it's the Lab series from Crush City.
No, Lab Series from Pure Fishing.
Oh, is it? Oh, my apologies. Okay, so Lab Series from Pure Fishing. Interesting bait. It doesn't look any different to me than some of the other plastics that are out there, but hey,
Yeah, it's
as
just
you
got
said,
something coming out of it. I think it's the gulp stuff.
it does have an injection. Yeah,
Yeah,
there is a cavity in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of neat. No, they're really cool looking little baits. There's no doubt. You know, when you mention that, when Erica came to the to Tightline, she bought some of the Crush City stuff, and I forget what the one was called because they've got like somewhere between 14 and 18 million different baits now.
That's why I get confused. Yep.
It's an absolute phenomenon. Like you go in a store and you look at the wall, and it's like 4 or 5 pegboards. It's like 20 feet, top to bottom, Crush City. And like they're all different colors, designs that are all going to catch fish. And she had a swim bait in there. I forget the name of it. And it had this purpley blue hue to it. I almost went and bought like about 6 packets. Just I looked at it like, I had to get a couple of deep breaths. I thought, where have you been all my life? You know what I mean? And for me to look at a bait like that.
I was just going to say that. How often does that happen to you? Where you
Not
see
often.
I was going to say, yeah, because I mean,
That's
let's face it.
the last time it happened to me. Is this here Wes's bait?
Yeah, you mentioned that last week. Yeah.
Yeah. That just, even that color,
Mm-hmm.
it just looks like it looks like a baby barfed it up.
Yeah, looks like sheer money.
And I like the way the legs are.
Yeah.
But there's another thing I saw the other day. I thought that's what Bait Fuel's ad, American Bait Works ad would be with us, but they have another little thing in there. It looks kind of like a Senko. It's a I forget the name of it. It's 4 or 5 inches long, and it's got like a million little legs. And as it's falling away in the water like a Senko, all these little legs are just doing this. As
Like a centipede, like a big.
Yeah, but really, really short. I forget the name of it.
Oh wow.
I forget. I looked at so much stuff on Sunday. I was in a vegetative state on Sunday. That's because I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to Tightlines, and I had a whole bunch of stuff to do, and I went to bed at like 10:30 at night. Plus, I drove, 4 hours. So it was.
Yeah.
I was feeling it.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
Jay's here to save the day. It's the Lab Series, or a hybrid of Max Scent and Power Bait. Serious innovation for Bert. Yeah, I would have to say. I mean, it's certainly taken the industry by storm after we saw it win the classic.
Pretty cool because they have it in a little finesse form too. So all the drop shot guys are going to be out there wiggling one of those on the end of a drop shot, and stuff like that. So it's
Steve's in a frisky mood today. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Well, this is an honor. We have Advanced Taxidermy joining us.
There we go.
I'm thinking
Hey, is Gussie ever happy with his fish, guy?
I saw that. That was.
I talked to him about it. He's off the deep end.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a mount that was. What was the significance of that, Jim? I didn't get a chance to read the whole story.
It was a mean mouth.
What was a mean mouth?
One of those. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a female smallmouth. No. So the guy told me.
And that's our show.
Yeah, that's it for tonight. No. Oh, it was so funny. And I told him, I said, no, it's a cross between. I said it's a cross between the two, right?
Yeah.
He says to me, oh, that can't happen. I said, well, you're the guy that posted the picture of the tiger muskie.
Yeah, sure enough. It was a beautiful fish.
Yeah, cool.
As always, Advanced Taxidermy hits it out of the park on every single creation they come up with. But I got to see the picture. I didn't get to read the story, and it was exquisite. The colors, the detail, everything. It's well worth the money.
Yeah, he's excited because he's in the new house now. And as you saw from some of the pictures, he sent me a bunch of pictures one day there. He did a little pan around and sent it to me, eh? And his house is beautiful. He'll be very happy there.
That's awesome.
He'll be very happy. I'm sure he'll have that up somewhere, real specials, where it's at eye level, not halfway up the fireplace or something to gather dust. Yeah. And it's a memory that he'll remember forever without that fish.
Yep. I know you probably have a memory.
Well, I have that one from my second classic in Aurelia.
Yeah, I'm sure you
You know?
do.
It was almost 6 pounds, and I had that spot, and then late in the day I said I got to go there, and I went through the speed zone at 8 kilometers or whatever the heck it is there. I was way below it. Was barely registering. I was watching all the way. No, I didn't want to get disqualified because I knew I had a good paycheck coming. And little did I know that I was about to make 2 casts and trade half the weight that I had. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, true enough.
double. First cast you catch one almost 6, and you save a spot for the last day. And back then, 6-pound smallmouths were not. That's like what?
A unicorn.
That's like 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And like you've heard me say this a million times, everybody wanted to look at that fish, but you catch a 6-pound smallmouth now, and it's, well, if you had 4 more like that, you might have a chance to win.
Yeah.
That gives you 30 pounds, and even then, you're not guaranteed to win.
100%.
It's just amazing the way it's changed.
It's so true. Jim, it's days like this, and it's hard sometimes to wrap your head around it. But this is the first day of weather that I can honestly say has made me sweat. It made me perspire. And I'm thinking, when I was driving home from work, there's people that are still ice fishing. There's still ice fishing. When
I wrote the publisher's desk for the paper, that was the first thing that I said. Whether you're just about to take your first cast, I forget what it was, or you're about to shovel the lane, then go drill a couple of holes after work, depending where you are. Because this year there seems to be a real, But I mean, look how late the ice was. The ice was, what, 6-7 days behind here than what it usually is. So that's
days. I thought it was weeks. Wasn't it weeks behind?
No, from the average. The average is
the average. Okay.
April 4th, April 5th. I mean, last year at the 3rd week of March, I was sitting out there,
Yeah, true enough.
But then it cooled off again, just like it shows here. What is it next Friday? It shows it like -4 and
I know
+3 in snow, but it's April.
It made me think of it only because we posted a picture today for our Monster Monday feature. Irene Story, who I believe is up in the northern part of Manitoba with Fish Hassan, and those two always are chasing for giants. But she's all bundled up.
I think they're living there now.
I believe they are, and of course they love their big fish, and I'm not surprised that that's where they settle, because there's lots of big fish in northern Manitoba, as we know. But to see her all bundled up, like she was fishing the Arctic. And then here we are, we're having to we got sweat stains. It's crazy. It's amazing.
Well, I talked to Ryan the other day, and he said it's still on 5 feet of ice.
Wow.
Yeah, he said it'll be the end of May.
Wow.
End of May.
So
unless something drastic happens,
Yeah, no, 100%.
with the weather. But no, he's out there guiding. In fact, we got to get him on too.
Yes, we do. What species are you going to be targeting first, Jim?
The prolific boathouse bluegill.
Right on. And I would imagine that they're starting to stage right now. You're starting to see anglers catch those sort of in the southern parts of Ontario right now.
Yeah,
but,
we need. The ice is gone here, but the water's still really dirty. It takes that first couple of days of bright sun and calm, and then it just blows up, right? And then they all come into the shallows and have their swim, and that's when everybody catches them, and then they go back out, and then they, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks later, they do their spawn thing, because when you're catching them, they're not spawning most of the time, right? If you're catching a crappie and you get them and they're really dark black, those are the ones that are spawn. That's a spawning fish.
Good tip.
And you don't catch those right away. They'll all be pale because the water's, in most cases, not always.
Yeah.
Like in Rideau Lakes here, they'll all be pale because it's got like a lot of influx of little creeks and stuff. So the water has that just sort of, not so clean look to it.
100%. Terry, this is what we're talking about. We have buds, we have trees.
Who look on the lawn are this high.
Grass is growing. I came home tonight again from work, saw that the grass is already starting to grow, and poor Larry can't see his 6-foot tall fence because of all the freaking snow they have up in Timmins. Incredible.
I went out the other day when the snow melted, where we used to park Tammy's car in the winter beside the fence here at the side, like at the end of the garage and between the fence. So it was out of the way. And I was out there one day. It was early in the winter. Well, I wasn't out there. I was in the office here, and I ate a banana for breakfast. And a buddy of mine came up the laneway here to drop off a couple of big muskie baits to me to replace the hair. They were all chewed up and everything. He was up north pike fishing last year, and I guess they caught like 436 pike in 5 days. These things were just chopped up. So the squirrel's sitting on the fence giving me heck. So I throw the banana peel at him, and he jumps back, and then he comes and he goes, and next thing I know, I see him. He's going up the fence, up the tree, bringing the banana skin.
Unreal.
So all winter, I threw the banana skins out there. Then the snow melts, and there's all these black things on the ground.
Jeez.
He didn't eat them. He ate one, but he didn't eat the rest.
It's always the way. Always the way. Jim, as always, it's a pleasure to have you each and every Monday discussing fishing and just things in general. I actually, as I said, I get the luxury of talking to you on the regular because there's a lot of interaction back and forth. Some we can chat about, some we probably shouldn't, but needless to say, it's great having you here each and every Monday, pal. Thanks so much for doing this, eh?
Appreciate it immensely. I have just as much fun doing it. I like being here. It's cool. I was telling a guy that I talked with the other day, got me down putting gas in Canadian Tire there in Gan, and I was talking to him, and he's a younger guy, and he was talking to me, and he said, I heard you talking at seminar one time, and you were saying that there didn't used to be big smallmouths. And I said, yeah, just up until 10, 15 years ago, like a 5-pounder was a giant out of the St. Lawrence River, because he lives in down toward Mallory Town. And he said, wow, he said, that's strange or whatever and everything else. And then he says to me, and it's a young kid, he's probably like 23, 24. He says to me, it must be really cool for you to have witnessed all the changes because you're older now.
Probably not the nicest thing to say, but it makes sense.
No,
yep.
Hey, that's right up there with why does the old man have so much hair? I'm thinking about getting it off, eh?
No, don't you dare, dude.
Thinking about it.
I actually said that to Pete. I said, you got to keep that flow, man. The flow, it makes you, it keeps you young. Yeah, buddy, it's the chick's date. I wish I could
Chick's date. I'll tell you something about the show in Peterborough that we can't talk about.
All right. I look forward to that, pal. You have yourself a great week, my friend.
Be safe, everybody. And if there's anybody out there on the ice, be careful.
Amen, brother. All right. Well, we got Jay and Mark Penner coming up right after a word from our sponsor.
Be awesome. Be good, lad and ladies.
Yeah, baby. Oh, Jay, I downloaded that video thinking it just had some whatever music behind it. I had no idea it had that music and holy smokes. We gotta get Christian. We gotta get Trevor on some more how-tos and product shoutouts. Because as I said, I went looking on both of their pages, and unfortunately, I didn't find anything. So that's what I found, and I was doing it during a call, so I didn't get to hear the music. Anyway, that's absolutely hilarious. But it's par for the course today. I apologize. I'm not sure, as you guys already know, Facebook, unfortunately, they're having technical difficulties. We couldn't upload this, but I will definitely upload it after we're done our conversation because I'm really excited about tonight's topic, something that Jay and I have wanted to talk about when it comes to Lake Erie, but we are honored to have Mark Penner here tonight to discuss the status of Lake Ontario and maybe a forecast or two about the upcoming season out on Lake O. And first and foremost, Jay, welcome. And of course, Mark, thanks so much for joining us and taking some time tonight.
Right on. Thanks for having me, guys. Always fun
awesome
to jump in and catch up and talk about what's happening.
Yeah,
we've certainly started to see the beginning of what I call the Penn Project season. The Port Credit Salmon and Trout Association, they held their event this past weekend. It was great to see all the people down there. I love seeing all the kids and how fascinated they are with the fish. This is something that you guys do, I believe, in St. Catharines as well, Mark. And of course, how effective is it? Do you have any stats that you can share?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd be happy to touch on it briefly. So I believe since 2009, we've been doing our pen project in Port Dalhousie. We've got 4 pens currently, and they each hold 15,000 Chinook fry, so for a total of 60,000. And of course, the allotment is set by the MNR for each site. They review it on an annual basis in conjunction with input from the Fishery Management Zone 20 Council. And that fluctuates year to year, but we did have a reduction many years ago after the extreme winters of 2014 and 15. There was concerns about the alewife population on the lake, so they reduced stocking. But for the last number of years, they've been slightly increased. So we're pretty much back to what normal levels used to be. And of course, these numbers are also worked with the New York DEC too, because there's various pen sites too across Lake Ontario from both the north shore of Lake Ontario, Bronte, Port Credit, and a few other sites heading east towards the Durham area. And then, of course, ours is the only one on the Canadian South Shore.
Interesting. I think from an observer from the outside looking in, I think this is a great way to get kids get hands on fish, get them to see the fish. It's an interaction that I think we should be doing more of, and it's great to see the numbers increase every year. Not to mention the fact, of course, let's face it, that tournament that goes on out every year out on Lake Ontario, it seems to be picking up steam, seems to be picking up popularity. Everybody is looking to buy downriggers and all kinds of trolling equipment. And of course, that brings us to our topic and the reason you're here. What was the fishing like last year for Lake O, and what do we expect for next year? Or this year?
Sure. Well, let's rewind for a sec. Let's just recap what happened in 2024. We saw some of the best fishing as far as numbers of fish go that we could remember for a long time. From early June right through to the end of August in 2024. And then last year we had very good fishing right off the bat, almost, from mid-April until the first week of May last year. And then something strange just kind of happened. The fishing got very tough. They kind of vanished, and everywhere, not just like around our parts, but also around New York. It was very slow salmon fishing, but then it picked back up again just as the Great Ontario Salmon Derby started. And we had reasonably good numbers for numbers last year, but then last year we had bigger fish caught. So we always use, we have our Salmon Derby right now in the springtime that the Game and Fish runs for the month of April and May. But it's really the Great Ontario Salmon Derby that's like our benchmark kind of establishing stats,
Right.
because of the fish are at their mature size then throughout the summer, and it gets a lot of attention too. So last year they had way more Thais. 30-pound fish is the Thais is the nickname for 30-pound fish, and they had way more weighed in last year than the year previous. So and this week, last weekend, so April 4th, the 50th anniversary of the St. Catharines Game and Fish Spring Salmon Derby kicked off. We're now just starting week 2 right now, and we saw the salmon arrive early last week. We've had some stable weather generally for the last number of days. Many people now have their boats ready, and many people were out fishing this last weekend, and many fish are being caught right now. It's looking very good. Now, guys were able to get out, weeks previously, and the brown trout fishing, I got to say, is some of the best that I have seen and heard of for many years. We've kind of seen an uptick the last 2 or 3 years, both, those fishing the lake and those fishing, areas like Port Dalhousie and the lower Niagara River throughout the fall and the winter time. So brown trout fishing is great. And right now the salmon fishing is very good too right now. And it's the most exciting part is it's good in many areas right now. Sometimes we see where there's a couple areas where maybe the water color and temperature is right, and a lot of the fish pile up into these small areas. But right now there are salmon spread out from 50 Point, Stony Creek, Grimsby, 40 miles east towards the Niagara River now.
Interesting.
So, and they're catching good numbers of fish, down the New York shoreline for the most part too, currently.
I have to say, Jay, you might agree with me here. It seems like every time you come on, Mark, we had you on 24, we had you again on 25. Every time you're here, the fishing seems to be the highlight of the conversation because for whatever reason, almost unexplained, the fishing is like incredible. When we had you on 24, we figured that it was all the east winds that was pushing all the bait, all the sediment, all the nutrients to the west end of the lake. Last year, we saw the big fish and we're just amazed at the number of big fish that were caught. You came on here to discuss that. And of course, now you're on here to tell us that the brown trout fishing has peaked as well. So you're kind of a good luck charm. Maybe we should bring you out here at Walleye Opener.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how far I can extend my good karma. But a note too, like for those that the nice thing about the fishing that we have now for at least the next couple of weeks while the rest of the lake is still really cold, is that it allows access to this fishing for a lot of people, even shore anglers, because right now you can catch good numbers of brown trout, and even we get the odd lake trout and even the odd coho salmon caught from shore right now. Guys just casting spoons. Your best spots are going to be anywhere that's adjacent to a creek or a harbor mouth, because the warmer water is going to be there and the bait fish are going to be there. So guys can go out and cast spoons for an hour or two before or after work. We have more daylight now in the mornings and the evenings. So those fish are going to push out of reach soon as that lake water warms up close to shore. But every year, after things thaw until usually the middle of April, it's a good time for shore anglers to get out. And even those guys with small boats who may not even be rigged up with downriggers and, all the fancy new tools that are available, you can just go out, you can flatline, simple body baits. Planer boards will help you spread things out away from the boat a little, but you don't always need them. You can just flatline some diving body baits, get them 100 feet behind the boat, troll a couple miles an hour. You can use dipsy divers and spoons too if you have them. And it's a good time to tap into this fishing while the fish are close to shore, and also before other seasons open, before bass and walleye and all those other things happen later on into the spring.
Jay, I think back to the 90s when salmon fishing was sort of at another peak. And I have to say, we're down that same road. It's like we've come full circle again. And the fishing, as Mark has mentioned, from the shore, it was like this back in the 90s. And it seems like it's returned again, because to me, it's amazing to see the numbers of fish that anglers are able to access and target so shallow, so close to shore. Has that been your experience, and are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, we were talking before the show about some of the management that goes on, and this cooperative management with FMZ 20 especially. And, we're, and we're also seeing in the last 20 years, we've seen so much collaboration between the different agencies. And Mark, this, like there's been this total shift. We're not managing state by state, we're managing the lake. And so all of the agencies are working together, whether it's Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, Lake Huron. And we all know that by working together, we're going to get the most out of our fishery. And whether it's salmonids, whether it's walleye, whether it's perch, whether it's bass, we're just seeing this shift. And so all these populations are cyclical. We'll see good times and bad times. But right now, in the last even 10 years, the bad times aren't that bad, not like they used to be, right? The dips in the valleys don't seem to be as bad. And I think a lot of that is just, we're just seeing some really good lake-wide management. It's not perfect. We will still have issues with weather and year class strength because we still need good conditions for spawning. And stocking has helped. But in the end, I think we're just seeing this sort of renaissance of great fishing in our Great Lakes, no matter what species you're after.
I agree. And Mark, could it ever be perfect in your eyes? Could we ever get this perfect?
Oh, probably not. No, but it's decent now, and let's talk about some other species briefly. The coho salmon fishing. Talk about a cyclical fish species on Lake Ontario. We've had some real ups and downs of that, but the last few years we're in a real up cycle, and many of them are, we don't always know. Like Lake Ontario, or Ontario, I should say, isn't stocking many cohos at all. They haven't been for a few years. There's a few other factors that go into that we won't touch right now. But, New York still stocks a nice amount of coho, but we believe we're getting a lot of natural reproduction from the northeastern tribs. Those tribs coming, Jay's talked about these river systems, east of the GTA. And we're seeing a lot of Chinook natural reproduction coming out of there. But the coho fish in the last couple of years has been great. And thank goodness we had the coho last year in the middle of May when our Chinook kind of vanished for a little bit, because, it filled the void, especially for those doing guides and charter trips. So I know they were very thankful for them. Lake trout is great, around our stretch of the southwestern part of Lake Ontario, but it's also real strong. I know if you talk to guys who fish the eastern part of Lake Ontario, like Kingston and Amherst Island and all that, it's not something that I'm real close to, but I know the ice fishing there was phenomenal for them this year. And those that, fish for them out in that area, open water, it's just a fantastic fishery that doesn't get a lot of light shone on it too. And the steelhead are bouncing back too. Steelhead too have been up and down for many years, but and there's other factors too with that, gill lice and a few things like that. But we've seen a rebound in steelhead numbers and average size the last couple of years too.
Jay, I know you and I have talked about this in the past, and perhaps you can jump in. We are also starting to see a little bit of a decline, if not a lot of a decline, when it comes to the lampreys. We had a bit of an influx there a couple of years back where we were seeing good numbers come into the rivers, but we've seen that kind of drop off. Could that maybe have something to do with it as well?
Yeah, I think so. In what we're seeing, actually, unfortunately, right now, and we've talked about this in the show in the past, during COVID, we had a decline in lamprey management because crews couldn't get out. And so there's more lamprey, there's some of the stats coming back, or there's more and more lamprey scars showing up, which means there's more lamprey out there. But since COVID, like, it really was only 1 year that was bad in terms of treatment. And I think the agencies, and remember, lamprey are managed cooperatively between Canada and the US, and they do a great job of it. And if it wasn't for them, we would see probably a big impact to our fisheries with lamprey, because they're just going to keep coming back, and they have to be managed constantly. And I think that we are seeing a bit of a hit, but I don't think it's back. We aren't going back to like we were in the 60s. Like, it's not like that. I think you're just seeing a little blip on the graph, and then we're getting back to where management should be for lamprey, which is good to see. And in fact, scientifically, I think it's actually good to see what happens. Okay, we laid off them a little bit. What happens? Because it's an expensive program. That program costs a lot of money to manage. And we've seen what happens when we pull back a little bit. It's like, okay, we need to keep our levels at a certain threshold. And we're back there again, and I'm not worried about it, but I'm actually glad we saw that little blip, because I think it's going to wake people up a little bit about the importance of managing lamprey in the Great Lakes.
I agree. And I will say this, when it comes to recruitment, and listen, in any stocking program, at least that's my belief, the end goal is to have a naturally reproducing population of fish. Obviously, we stocked salmon to combat the alewife problem. But I would say, in the 90s, it was probably like a 70-30 split between natural recruitment and what we had stocked. Then maybe in the 90s, it was around 50-50. But am I safe to say that we are definitely seeing more naturally reproducing salmon and trout, for that matter, now than we've ever seen before in the Great Lakes?
I think so. And it's kind of interesting when you look at, I'll use Chinooks as an example. We've been stocking Chinooks for decades in the Great Lakes, and for the most part, we thought that there was very limited natural reproduction happening. But once agencies started changing how we monitor our streams, and I can speak to a lot of right now in the news, a lot of the conservation authorities are in the news right now, and we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But what's great is that CAs, conservation authorities like the Ganaraska, Central Lake Ontario, TRCA in Toronto, Credit Valley, they're all sampling they do what's called standardized sampling in their streams. The streams that Mark just touched on, those eastern trips, even though in the western end, like Bronte and 16 Mile. And we started seeing, and this is going back, I'm going to say back 20 years ago, we started seeing a lot of these summer Chinooks. And so what Chinooks do, Chinooks are kind of unique. When they spawn, those young Chinook actually smolt out very quickly. They'll smolt out the following summer. Steelhead will hang around in the stream. It's more of a guideline, but they're like a 2-year smolt. So they're going to hang around the stream for 2 years. I've read up to 3 years. Some strains might smolt out after 1 year if conditions are right. But for the most part, Chinooks come in, they spawn in the fall, and in June, those fish smolt out. And unless you're actually in those streams monitoring, you won't detect those fish leaving. And it was a lot of the work by the CAs doing their standardized monitoring, where they're looking at, they go out with their backpack shockers and they do what's called systematic sampling, where they take a certain amount of effort and they basically, I call it painting. They standardize and they just sweep a standard area. And all these creeks I'm talking about have standard sampling sites. And they started seeing, you know what, if we sample in June, basically when it has to be like kind of a spring rain. So you need water temperature for them to grow. And then they get to a point, and once you get some rain in June, July, they were seeing big pushes of smolts that are in the headwaters of these streams. And they just literally are getting flushed out into Lake Ontario. And I think a lot of agencies didn't realize how much reproduction was happening in those streams. And it could also be some of these streams are getting better. We're getting better at land management. The health of these streams is improving in some areas. I'm not saying that natural reproduction is the only way to do it, but it does help. And so it's nice to see that happening. But if it wasn't for all the work that goes on with like some of the groups that Mark's involved with and several others that Mark's mentioned, like we wouldn't have the fishery that we have right now.
It's a great point. And Mark, I would say we initially started, when it came to the stocking, we would classify it more as a put and take fishery. I don't know if it's that case anymore. I do believe still on the southern shores, it's still considered a put and take fishery. And I'm not 100% sure how good their natural recruitment is. But do you ever see a time where pen projects aren't going to be needed anymore? Or we might be dialing down the amount of stocking for salmon that's going on?
Well, it's an interesting question, and it's, the conversation kind of comes up in different circles regularly. along the South Shore, we have very little suitable habitat for the salmon and the trout to successfully spawn. Certainly on the northeast side of the lake and the Salmon River on the southeast side of the lake, much more favorable habitat for natural recruitment. I don't know, and we used to have a cool project back in around 2009 to 2012, somewhere around that time frame, where fish were clipped. The stocked fish were clipped on, I think, both like on Ontario and New York side. So it was kind of fun when we were out fishing for those few years. We would be keeping notes of the amount of clipped versus unclipped fish because they had their adipose fin taken off in the hatchery. So it was kind of interesting. Then they did away with that program, and I think there's talks of it coming back. And I hope so. It requires a lot of volunteer work to get that done in the wintertime when the fish are in the hatchery. But I could see it coming back soon to help gauge what the actual natural versus stocked fish balance is. I think we'll always need some sort of stocking to supplement the lake for all species. Rainbows, browns, and Lakers are all stocked too in different numbers in different sites. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Jay, I have to ask you because, and Sonia will really appreciate this. We spent a lot of money, and I know you and I talk about this, and I've talked about it at great length. The amount of money that was spent to have Atlantic salmon return to the rivers was enormous. And unfortunately, the recruitment just wasn't there. We didn't see the numbers. But what we did get were some incredible streams, some incredible rivers, and some incredible habitat that went along with it. What has happened now is we are starting to see a good number of Atlantics at least showing up in around the Bronte, Port Credit, Humber River area like never before. Can you explain that?
Well, some of it's so there's different sources for that. Some of it's, a lot of them are the pictures I've seen are a lot of brood stock that are being released. So within M&R, and Mark, you can quote me, tell me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the ones I've seen are a lot of brood stock that are being caught that have been released because they've met their end of their usefulness in the hatchery, and so they're being released, and but they're getting put back into the fishery as something to angle for. Reproduction is occurring, but we'll never see, Atlantics will never become abundant, not in our lifetime, like compared to the other salmonids. But, I think, and I can go back to early in my career when I worked at Central Lake Ontario Conservation Authority 20 plus years ago. We had fisheries open houses, and there was a lot of resistance to the Atlantic salmon program from some of the angling groups. And I remember one night being in a very heated discussion with anglers, and I said to them, guys, they knew at the time I was a very avid steelheader. If I wasn't in the office in Oshawa, I was fishing outside the office in the creeks around the office. I was very dedicated steelheader for many years of my life. And I said to them, guys, the money going into, and a lot of the money went into stream restoration. Now, there was money put into actually raising Atlantics, but there was a lot of stewardship money went into stream restoration, making the habitat better. And I said to them, this habitat will benefit all species. It'll benefit the steelhead, it'll benefit the Chinooks, it'll benefit the coals, it'll benefit the browns. And I said, if you really want to help steelhead, which is what a lot of these anglers were really in for, because I think, Mark, you'll agree that a lot of these angling groups that are very stream based, they're very pro steelhead. There's this dichotomy between the lake anglers and the stream anglers, right? So the stream anglers are really big into steelhead, and they actually, I'll take credit, I changed their tune to the point where they were now defending. They wanted to see more stewardship money. They started lobbying for more stewardship money, but they were doing it selfishly because they're like, hey, if we can fix up these streams, which, let's be honest, these are urban systems. They've been through a lot of change because of development. But if we can maintain their health, then we can have a good steelhead fishery. And that's really what that money went to. And now we're seeing, we are seeing reproduction from all these different species. And again, I agree with Mark, that it's not the main source of fish, but it's helping. It's better than just having, like, we have to think too, Scotty, what a lot of anglers in Ontario do not realize how good we have it in those streams. If you go down to New York or the New York streams like Oak Orchard, Sandy, Burt Dam, you go down to the Cattaraugus, you go down to all those Lake Erie trips like the Raccoon, the Pine, there's almost zero reproduction in those systems. They are not productive for reproduction. They get huge runs. Like they stock, I think New York stocks a couple million steelhead a year. Like it's huge numbers. And the fishing is great, but it is almost a put and take fishery because there's no reproduction. A lot of the Lake Erie streams on the Ontario side, and I have one in my backyard, like Big Creek. A lot of the fish that come in there are natural reproduction. And I'm going to bet that about 20% of the fish that come in Big Creek are wandering from those stockings on that south shore. And so it just maintains itself. Now, it's a small system here. A lot of our creeks on the Ontario side of Erie are very small. So we don't see big runs. It's like fish per meter. You're not going to get these huge runs, but you get very stable habitat, very good conditions to produce fish. But we have, even in those eastern trips, which get all kinds of pressure, we have it really good compared to what we have for, I'm going to use the term stream health on the New York side of Lake Ontario. They're just not that healthy. There is some production that happens, but not like on our side. We're very spoiled over here, to be honest.
Speaking of spoiled, and Mark, I'll let you answer this one. Lake Erie is kind of, taking the spotlight, if you will, when it comes to the abundance of fish, the numbers of fish, this, that, and everything else. Of course, it's more walleye and perch based. But, Lake Ontario, now that we've been talking about it, and certainly it's something that all three of us know, we are starting to see this fishery turn into the fishery we always thought it could. I don't know what Lake Ontario was like back in the 60s and 70s or really the 80s for that matter. I certainly saw what it could do in the 90s when we started seeing those big Chinook and coho get caught and what have you. But, when we talk about walleye, when we talk about smallmouth, when we talk about all the trout, salmonoids, all the species of fish and the sheer size of fish that we're seeing caught, I would have to say, has Lake Ontario ever been this good as it is right now?
Sorry, Lake Ontario or Lake Erie?
Lake Ontario.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure. Yeah, everything seems to be quite healthy across the board currently right now. Like I said, some of the average size, some of the peak sizes are down, and that's, a little bit more genetics, I believe, not so much the bait population, but, we're not seeing 40-pound fish, not very much at all like we did in the late 80s or early 90s. But, fish are healthy. They're eating well. There's lots to be caught all around the lake. So it's probably as good as I've seen it. And, I've been, I fished it a little bit in the early to mid 90s, took a break, and then got right back into it in about 2005. So I'm 20 plus years in, doing it on a regular basis. And I'm thrilled. It's great.
It's awesome. We're going to certainly talk about what the club has upcoming this year. But before we get to that, Mark, can you give us a forecast on what we should expect for this year out on Lake O?
Well, I touched on it briefly. I expect to see good numbers of salmon caught throughout the year. Hopefully they don't vanish for too long. We always have relatively good fishing and consistent fishing along the South Shore from mid-April until usually the May long weekend. And then, as the Lake Erie water warms up and that Niagara River plume pushes out, then that's when we have transition time. And, the Chinooks kind of scatter and set up in across different ports across the lake then as the lake warms up more stable. So we usually have a short transition time where fishing slows down at the end of May, early June. And then, as that thermocline sets up in mid-June and then throughout the summer, it's usually pretty good then for most ports, and it starts to get better, Toronto and heading east. So barring some significant kind of event, I expect very good fishing for all species this year. We'll see what our big fish are for leaderboards for events and stuff like that. But all 6 species, and I'm including Atlantics in that. I think we're in for a good year for people catching nice numbers of fish.
Jay, you would probably agree, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I would agree. Listen, I put it in the chat. If I want to know all about Lake Ontario and Lake Erie open water fishing, I'm going to go to Grimsby Tackle. I tell everybody that. Like the guys at Grimsby Tackle, Mark, you and the guys and girls that are like, man, you guys have your finger on that pulse. Like you're sitting at that sweet spot in the Niagara area, right between Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. And, I'm not a big open water guy. And if I need advice on that, I send everybody to Grimsby Tackle. And I mean that not just because you're my friend, but you guys really hit it out of the park there. Like you cover all the bases. And you also work with the local anglers, the local guides run through that store. You guys just do a great job of covering all the bases. Like, yeah, you still do your perch and your bass, which I still do a lot of that. But all those lake species, all those lake dwelling species, you guys provide for the anglers there, but you also have the knowledge that you share with everyone that comes in the shop. Like I can't thank you enough for doing that, man. Honestly.
Well, thanks for the kind words. We try hard. It's our sweet spot. It's the type of fishing that a lot of our staff do most, and we try to pass that knowledge on. And we're always extremely happy to help people out, whether they're getting started for the first time, or if they're regular tournament anglers who have been at it longer than we have. We do our best to help. Forgot what I was going to say, but no, thank you very much. And I was just going to say too, with the advent of the Made in Canada movement to the last few years, it's been a pleasure seeing some of our trolling brands grow, and we've we're thankful that we can give the opportunity to some of those brands. We're trying to do it a little more every year to give them some shelf space and a spotlight to promote their stuff too.
Awesome stuff, Mark. Obviously, there's lots of upcoming events that your club and of course you are celebrating your 50th anniversary, I believe, this year. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the events are, what we can expect, and if folks can join and where they join to get involved with some of these wicked events that you guys put on.
Yeah, no, for sure. So just to clarify, it's the 50th anniversary of the Spring Salmon Derby.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
Our club has been in service since 1930, actually.
Holy smokes.
We're inching close to 100 years.
That's wild.
No, we've got lots going on. So we got our Derby. It's running April and May this year, 8 weeks. So we've to highlight the anniversary, we've doubled the payouts. So it's $10,000 for the biggest overall salmon. Every week, $2,000 for the biggest salmon that at a minimum of 20 pounds. And if there's no 20-pounder caught for a week, it rolls over and doubles. So we had that last week. We didn't have one entered in the first week. And then on Saturday, we had 2 entered. So currently, we have a 23-pound salmon on the board that is potentially worth $4,000 this week. So that's pretty cool. A shout out to Broadline Outdoors, who is a distributor now for Doss King kayaks. And they've been great partners with us for a little while now. And they're going to award a fishing kayak to the biggest salmon caught in our junior division. So that's been a cool thing we've been able to do the last few years. So awesome. Great people there. And we've got some other salmon-related events that run throughout the year, too. We have our 3x3 Salmon Classic for the May long weekend. We have a Members Challenge event that runs all year. Most importantly, though, we have our Kids Summer Derby that runs July and August. It's a virtual event that we kind of created during the COVID years. It's really cool because it's kind of like a scavenger hunt format. And I'll get the information to you, and you can post it up as we get closer in June near the end of the school year, and we can share it with all the families. But the idea is for kids and the families to go out and fish all summer long, whenever, wherever, and just to catch and identify as many different species as fish as they can during their summer break. And then there's different age groups for that. and basically the kids that enter the most species of fish, size doesn't matter, then they can win prizes within their age groups. And then we have a big wrap-up party on the Saturday following Labor Day weekend in Port Dalhousie to give out awards and do some fishing in the harbor.
Incredible.
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
I got to add to this. So when Mark, when you were hosting that event during the pandemic, I had so many of your members. I was helping with so many fish identifications because they were catching some really unique species. And this was, and Scotty, at the same time, the CFN fish off was happening too, right? And so I was bombarded every day with anglers sending me pictures of fish, like, what is this? What is that? And so it was cool. I loved it. And I think it's in this event still going. It's fantastic. So I love how, because what's cool about it is that, you know, someone can go out and catch a creek chub or catch a green sunfish or catch all these fish that are around that nobody really care about. But when this event is scored on points for basically catching as many species, that it levels the playing field. That was what's great about the CFN fish off. And this event emulates that sort of competition too, which I think is great, Mark. That's awesome. You're still doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm still having a hard time. I can't believe the club was around in 1930. Holy smokes!
I have to ask, Mark. Okay, so I don't want to. I know it's getting late now, but I have to ask this question. So I've been involved in lots of fishing clubs, and most fishing clubs start for a reason. So like Big Creek Anglers started to help the fish get over the dam here in Delhi, and the dam was rebuilt in the 90s. And we'll even go back to the Long Point Bay Anglers, and they started they were one of the first live release boats in Ontario because there were so many bass tournaments on the bay. But all this stuff was happening back in the 80s and the 90s. Dude, 1930s. This was before lamprey. Like what spurred this to happen? I need the elevator chat, the quick chat here about what spurred the organization to take place in the 1930s. That's amazing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so admittedly, my history from going way back is extremely limited, but it was just a bunch of gentlemen, mostly who lived down in the Niagara area, and they liked fishing and hunting, whatever, you know, they were probably hunting for pheasants, and I don't know what the deer was like back then, but probably rabbits too. Turkey hadn't been reestablished yet then. And they fished, sure, and then I think it gained a lot more wheels and traction as we got into the 60s and the 70s, you know, when the Lake Ontario fishery emerged. And then, of course, the club got very heavy with wild turkey reintroduction, I believe, in the 80s. And then they had many other things. Jay, you would probably find this interesting. They used to have casting competitions, like real serious ones, like for different classes and, you know, different weights and fly fishing and stuff like that. Like we've got the old trophies in the clubhouse. So unfortunately, all those things are really non-existent anymore from what I believe. But no, there's a lot of cool stuff that our club has touched over the years and different projects, you know, partnering with different groups. So it's a pleasure to be a part of. We've got a great team right now. You know, going to meetings sometimes maybe isn't always an enjoyable, but I do not dread when a board meeting is coming up because it's always very enjoyable and good conversation is had, and we're able to do a lot of stuff together.
Awesome.
That's great. I just blown away. 1930. That's incredible. I'm like you, Jay. Now you did share some photos that Jay's gonna. I think he was gonna be shared tonight. I'm gonna bring them up right now. Was there significance to these photos, Mark?
Well, yeah. Once they're up there, I'll just give a couple words.
I lost my link. 1 sec. I'll get it back.
Oh, okay. So just a photo from one is a brown trout that was caught a few weeks ago, just to give people a sample of, you know, the great brown trout fishing that's available. And then the other picture is what's our current leader for the Spring Derby, and that's a 23-pound salmon that was weighed in Saturday afternoon. So just to give a little visual for.
I think Facebook's just being really painful.
It is being very painful. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. And again, folks for that are joining us here on YouTube, thanks so much for finding the link. We will certainly share it to Facebook when we get the opportunity to do so. But yeah, as Jay has just mentioned, something is definitely going on with Facebook. So
Yeah, glitches happen.
it does.
Yeah, we got it. Okay, here we go.
All right, yeah, that's buddy Tyler with one of many nice brown trout he's caught recently.
Look how thick that brown trout is.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
And
I love
where
that.
was it? Where was this caught, Mark?
I think that was caught just between Port Dalhousie and the Niagara River in that stretch a couple weeks ago.
He may not.
Are those planer boards in the background that I'm seeing there?
Oh yeah, more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Gotta have him in the shallow water.
And I'll show you the other picture. Oh, come here. And then this one.
Yeah, so that's Eric Farlow and with the 23-pound salmon caught on Saturday afternoon.
That's awesome.
Incredible. Holy smokes. All right. So we've talked all about Lake Ontario. Now we're going to talk a lot about Lake Erie. And we are going to employ the services of Jim Hanley, who is a legend. Anybody who enjoyed the Northeast Outdoors TV show like I did, I absolutely love this show. Jim is a great talker, very well spoken, and he gets into some interesting topics. And one in particular, he's done this, I think, 3 years now. Jay, I know you've been following it. Mark, I'm sure you've been following it as well. I just saw this episode for the first time. And folks, if you get an opportunity, head on over, because I didn't get an opportunity to ask Jim if we could use some of this footage. So go over and give him a like or a follow, just so we can thank him in our own little CFN way. But what we're going to talk about first, of course, is a bit of a recap of what the fishing was like for walleye in 2025.
A few reasons why the fishing was so good. As serious walleye fishermen on Lake Erie know, the migration from the West Basin is very important for us, and that population has been thriving. And all those fish are old enough now to be making that full migration.
Right.
Our East Basin populations of walleye are also thriving, doing incredible. And so we benefit from that here in New York. And there really wasn't much food around last year. So the walleye that were there were super hungry, and they seemed like they were eager to bite.
So what was the population last year, and what was caught? I mentioned at the beginning, but let's go through that.
Last year, we estimate the population lake-wide was around 80 million walleye in Lake Erie. And we caught, or collectively, all the 5 jurisdictions caught 9.2 million walleye last year.
And that includes Michigan, Ohio,
Pennsylvania, New York, and then the province of Ontario, in Canada. So that's our estimates. And this year, we're thinking it's closer to 58 million. So the population has come down.
Right.
But it still looks to be an excellent year. I don't think it's going to be as good as it was last year, record-setting, but it should be very good fishing again.
Are any of us surprised?
No.
Not at all.
We've had so many good spawns in Lake Erie that each one of those is a good year class. And so then now there's some that are better than others, but like I mentioned before, the bad days are still good right now. So, and some of that too, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but like we go from 80 million down to 50 million walleye. Like some of that is as these year classes age, the numbers will drop, right? So like, because as they get older, one, they're getting harvested, but two, like we can only have so many 3-year-old fish, so many 4-year-old fish, so many 5-year-old fish. So the numbers drop. I would actually be interested to see what the biomass stays at. So the actual weight of those fish, like biomass is a measure of the biological material, right? So as you lose fish in those strong year classes, you still have a lot of the same, meat in the lake because those fish are still there. It showed on that graph, the numbers are declining a little bit, but nothing like they were historically. We're still at record levels.
100%. So before we, send out, alarms and concerns and this and that, 58 million walleye is an incredible number. And let's face it, there's still stocking going on. It's not like we expect natural reproduction to do all of our recruitment. There's still lots of stocking going on. So listen, there's going to be a good number of walleye still filtering into this body of water.
Yeah.
And it certainly can sustain it. The only thing is they are starting to now be concerned about the forage base. And Jay, you and I have been talking about this, that this has been our biggest concern with that many walleye, with that many sport fish, never mind just walleye. How are we going to sustain that feed, that need for food? And it's interesting in this segment, they talk about the forage base and how it's been affected by all those walleye.
Talk a little bit about what were they eating?
Typically out here in Lake Erie, walleye are eating smelt and goby in New York. This year, we do our surveys in the summertime. We saw something we've never seen before in terms of what they were eating. They were eating mayflies.
Wow.
Which I never thought I would live to see that, but that's how many walleye there were feeding. They were resorting to eating mayflies.
And there was a lot of mayfly heads.
There was a lot of mayflies, but you'd still expect them to be focusing on smelt typically.
Well, they were hungry, that's for sure.
Yep.
The competition for food from one species of fish to the other can have a big impact. And we talked about walleye population exploding, bass population diminishing. They competing for the same food.
Well, in a sense, everything's eating round goby. I mean,
that's
people
incredible.
who are fishing out there, freshwater drum, bass, perch, walleye, everything eats round goby. So they're definitely competing for that resource. And most things are like smelt as well. There's not perfect overlap between the species. They occupy different habitats.
Right.
But last year, the forage base in Lake Erie was down.
Yeah.
It was quite low.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at that, but I'm also stunned that mayfly is becoming part of the food web. Has it not always been a part of the food web, Jay?
I think it's always a part of the food web, especially in Erie and St. Clair. But I think that what was shocking was how much of the proportion was of mayflies eaten last year. That's what I took from that data. I don't know if last year was a really good year for mayflies or if it was just there was that many fish and they needed to eat. And walleye are opportunistic. Like they are not prey specific. They eat what they can. And if mayflies were what they were getting, that's what they were getting. So I think I'm gonna do a little reading on mayfly cycles in the Great Lakes and see because we do study them. Like people are out there studying these invertebrates. I am curious if that's variable, but like that's a lot to sustain walleyes. That's a lot of mayflies. That's kind of impressive.
It is truly impressive. What is interesting, and I know you and I have talked about this as something that they should think about and consider, is if we ever do get a crash for forage, that we have a plan B. Well, they're exercising and putting into place plan B, and I think this is probably the most fascinating segment of this entire interview, is this new stocking program they have for Cisco.
Stocking Cisco's in Lake Erie.
So Cisco are extirpated, so that just means they're extinct in Lake Erie, but not everywhere else. So historically, that was the largest commercial fishery in Lake Erie, really in all the Great Lakes. And so we're making an effort to attempt to restore the Cisco population. The goal is to stock 300,000 Cisco for about 10 years off of Dunkirk.
Each year?
Each year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. What species are you putting them in there for to feed on?
Well, we're not right now. We're not specifically putting them in as feed. We actually hope that they don't get eaten. We're trying to grow them large enough so they don't get eaten.
Right.
But historically, that was one of the main diet items for a lot of the fish in Lake Erie.
How big are you putting them in there?
They're yearlings, so they're about 6 inches long.
Okay.
We're trying
How
to get
big
them
does a
past.
Cisco get?
They can get very big, quite big. Yeah.
Wow. How big?
So, at least over a foot.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
Yeah,
that.
as they get older. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It remains to be seen how large they'll grow in Lake Erie, and they're all marked with this oxytetracycline. So if we catch one, and we take the bones will glow, and that's how we can tell if it's one of our stocked fish or not. So
wow,
that's fascinating.
Yeah. Like
explain, Jay. How do they do that? How do they put that?
Sure. So I've done experiments like this before. So when you, so one of the things that we don't know about sometimes is how fast a fish grows. And now, whether you're a prey fish or a predator fish, it's so important for us to understand the ecology of these lakes by understanding how fast a fish grows. And so when we take a fish for a sample and we take the otolith that we go to age it, it's not really aging. I've been lectured. Actually, I have a colleague of mine, we joke about this story, where he was pulled aside by John Castleman years ago, and John said to my colleague, it's not age determination, it's age interpretation. Because I could give, even trained agers, I could give each of us an otolith, and Mark, you might say that fish is 5 years old. I might say it's 6 years old. And Scott, you could say it's 7 years old, because we have to interpret those rings. Because as fish grow, you have a good year and a bad year, and the rings are a little bit different. And for some fish, if it's a difference of, like, especially a short-lived fish like a Cisco, if it's a difference of 4 years or 6 years, that's a lot of time in the system. But what we can do is we can cheat. If you take a fish of a known age. So Cisco's, we know when they were hatched in that hatchery, where they brought them from. And we know, let's say those fish were, he said 6 inches. So let's say 1 year old. We put them in a tetracycline bath. It actually marks the bones with a chemical. It doesn't harm the fish. And then 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, we catch a Cisco. I can look at all those lines on the otolith, and I can shine that otolith basically under a black light, and I will see that tetracycline scar on the bone. So I know that's 1 year. Guaranteed that's 1 year, because that's when we scarred that fish. So then it's easier for me to accurately interpret that age. Does that make sense? Like, it's putting a placeholder on that age. And so what's important for that is understanding, okay, how did those fish grow? What were they, things like what were they eating? All that kind of stuff is so important to know. And that tetracycline mark on the bone helps us to understand how that fish grew in that system. And Cisco's are interesting too, because they are the native forage base for the Great Lakes. It's a little controversial for some, because, Cisco's they don't grow like alewife, like they don't grow in large numbers fast. But once you can establish a Cisco population back, and we lost a lot of Cisco's in the Great Lakes because of pollution over the years and poor conditions, but the lakes are improving. These fish are survivors. They can persist. When we talk about thymidase, for example, as one issue with predators,
right?
Cisco's are resistant to that. Alewife cause the issues with thiamine and thymidase. So we'll never get rid of alewife. We'll never replace alewife. But by adding a more diverse food source in the lakes, you can have a better fishery in the long term. So it's an experiment that they're going to try and do. And this is, I didn't realize until this video that they were doing this in Erie. I know they've been doing a lot of Cisco reintroduction in Michigan and Huron, but Superior doesn't need the help. Superior has a lot of Cisco's. Not just the lake Cisco. They have several different, I'm going to call them species, but that's a whole other show. But basically, there's a lot of Cisco's in Superior, but most of the lakes have seen declines in those Cisco's. And now they're starting to make a comeback because of these introduction efforts. A diverse forage base should make for a better fishery overall. That's the theory. And I think it's worth trying. We'll see.
100%. And Mark, as a manager of a tackle store, Grimsby Tackle, you got to love this kind of news, because it's just going to be more stuff on the wall.
Yeah. Always an interesting thing to manage, for sure.
Yeah.
I love it. And of course, Jay, when I'm thinking, this is another forage base. We know how big Cisco can get. Are we on the brink of creating like a master angler fishery? I know Lake Erie has been considered one for many, many years, but it is going to become the true trophy fishery that we always thought Lake Erie could be?
It might be. Like, Erie used to have a great whitefish fishery. Whitefish used to be great in Lake Erie. And Cisco are just a species of whitefish. They're part of the Coragonid genus that whitefish are part of. So I am curious if we can sort of, I'm not saying we'll get whitefish back, but Cisco's would fill the niche that whitefish used to fill in Lake Erie. So we'll see. Like it's kind of exciting if we can get one, a native species back, which is always cool, but two, a native species that contributes to the population to make it a better fishery. And that's what a lot of these agency staff are trying to do. So I think it's worth an attempt to see if they can do it.
Now, speaking of native fish, this one really kind of interests me, and I'm going to ask for both your takes on this because this caught me a little off guard, but I do understand it. I just going to need some explanation, but have a listen to this.
Population. You're doing some sturgeon stocking.
Yeah, we're doing some sturgeon restoration too in Cattaraugus Creek. We have a 25-year plan. We're going to be stocking in cooperation with the Seneca Nation 1,000 fish a year for 25 years.
Oh, what benefit would sturgeon be to the ecosystem putting them in?
That's a difficult question. It's not. I don't think it's a question of benefit. I think it's trying to restore populations that we collectively have decimated over the years.
Yeah.
Now, I can't speak to the southern part of the lake because I don't visit there very often, but I thought the sturgeon population was very strong in Lake Erie, especially in the Detroit River, where you see all kinds of them jumping. Do you see a need for this from a Canadian standpoint?
It's really misunderstood in Lake Erie. Like, so the sturgeon in Lake Erie and the Upper Niagara are kind of different than it is part of the same system, but there's been a really good success with restoration of lake sturgeon in the St. Clair River, Detroit River. But for some reason in Erie used to have some of the best lake sturgeon fishery in all of the Great Lakes, and it's kind of petered off. What I've read some reports where the Upper Niagara has like a misunderstood sturgeon fishery. There's probably more there than we realize because it's very hard to study. If anyone's been over the Peace Bridge, you'll know how hard it is to study. And those sturgeon spawn in that fast water. So there's been some cool work going on with New York DEC around Buffalo Harbor, putting out egg bats to see if sturgeon are spawning in there. And I think a lot of what this stocking is probably a culmination of that research that's been going on in the East Basin of Erie, and that would include the Upper Niagara in that discussion. And I don't know much about the sturgeon fishery though on the other side of the falls. Mark, is there a good sturgeon fishery in the Lower Niagara? Do you know?
Yeah, like I really don't know what the population density is, but they exist there. We see them caught incidentally, pardon me, every year by guys fishing, steelhead or walleye fishing. Yeah. So they are there, and we see them caught in some other locations too, along the south shore of Lake Ontario throughout the year too. Yeah. So they're an interesting species, and of course they're closed right now, so we're not even technically supposed to target them. I guess you're not even really supposed to post pictures if you hook one too, but they're around.
I think, and on that point though, so the reintroduction has been going. I shouldn't say a reintroduction. Because I would assume that we're stocking them in the lakes in the St. Clair River. It's a lot of it is habitat restoration that's happening I call it it's the Huron-Erie corridor. So lakes, St. Clair River, Detroit River. But like in St. Clair now, in the St. Clair River, they have a sturgeon season. You can get a tag. Like I'm pretty sure you get a tag, like a deer tag, and you get to go out and target them for so many weeks. It's like turkey season in Ontario now. That would be pretty cool to have a sturgeon fishery back in the Great Lakes where we could, if we wanted to, because I think, Mark, if a lot of anglers, if they put their mind to it, you could catch a sturgeon.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't think they're not that bright. Like I think if you put a big gob of worms down there with on the proper rod and reel and the ones in St. Clair, a lot of them are just using cut bait or they're even big gobs of worms, like literally like worm balls, and they're catching sturgeon. Like I have buddies who have gone to the St. Clair River to catch a sturgeon during that season. And it wasn't that long ago in the St. Clair River that you couldn't do that. I wonder if we'll see that on the Upper Niagara. And I would bet that that's probably, I'm not going to say in the near future, but probably a lot closer than we think to happen again.
On that note too, like there's a lot of sturgeon in the St. Lawrence River too, and you are allowed to target them on the Quebec side. The Ontario side you can't. And I know some people over the last few years recently have gone there and targeted them in certain times of the year successfully, catching many in a trip.
So that would be Mark, you're gonna have to get some more shelf space for those big, like eight ounce weights.
I'm sure Brad can hook us up with those.
There you go. Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That'd be kind of cool. That they talked about the value of sturgeon, but just take ecology out of it, just to have a chance to catch a sturgeon. Let's be honest. That'd be pretty neat as an angler, right? Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about a species, Jay, that you have been very concerned about out on Lake Erie, and of course we've started to see their numbers drop dramatically in the Western Basin. However, there is a bit of a highlight, and Mark, you'll appreciate this. They seem to be doing okay in the Eastern Basin.
Perch fishing in Western New York is a biggie. Matter of fact, I have customers who come from Ohio on a regular basis. They live right near Lake Erie, and they come to Western New York to go perch fishing because we catch some pigs.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because yellow perch in the eastern part of Lake Erie are really the bright spot for yellow perch right now. The Central Basin and even the Western Basin is not doing as well as it was several years ago. But
so then we'll talk about the future. He talks about the future of perch, which is
a stretch of about 4 years of good to very good recruitment for yellow perch. And that's really what it takes to produce good perch fishing in New York, consecutive years of hatching success. And then we just recently had 2 years of relatively low recruitment. So we expect over the next few years, as the older perch leave the system and these newer, younger year classes that aren't as good come in, it may decline a little bit, perch fishing.
So with that being said, Jay, I mean, again, I'm not here to try and change the rules or limits, but, you know, this would be a great opportunity, I think, for them to revisit the number of fish that you're allowed to take. You know, if we have a concern about perch, we want to rebuild the fishery, and of course we know we need to do that with the numbers. Would this be an opportunity for someone to step in? It doesn't matter which state, which body of water, or even conservation authority, to say, you know what, instead of taking 50, maybe we only take 10.
I think, like, to speculate without knowing the numbers, it's hard to, but we've seen them decrease the limits in Ohio. You know, it hasn't really been discussed on the Ontario side, but definitely, though, the perch fishing, it's kind of neat. Like, if you think about back in the 90s, yellow perch from Long Point over to the Upper Niagara was awesome perch fishing. Like, I grew up perch fishing. Like, that's what we did a lot of. And it's still good. Like, I shouldn't complain. Like, if I want to catch yellow perch, like, Lake Erie's down the street. Like, it's still one of the best perch fisheries in the world. But the perch fishing was good then. The walleye fishing was pretty sad, to be honest. I did some walleye fishing. It was pitiful. And we've had this in 30 years. We've seemed to have flipped, where walleye is doing really well and the perch aren't. But it's not because they're interacting with each other. It's these spawning cycles that really seems to be the driver, it's not walleye eating perch or perch eating walleye fry. It seems to be like the actual spawn success itself. And we've had very poor spawning success with perch. Some of it stems to poor winters. We need ice for perch spawning. You need lake temperatures to be cold. There's been science that's come out that suggests that cold winters helps perch. And these mild winters that we just got done with a typical winter, or even a cold winter. But some of the mild winters we had in the past 10 years, I've read that it's been very detrimental to the perch population. So we'll see. We've had they mentioned we have 2 weaker year classes coming in. Maybe we're going to have a good spawn this year. And then that could flip all over again.
So I believe his name is Josh, the gentleman that's there speaking with Jim. So Josh touches on that. I didn't add this to the conversation, but he had mentioned that that we had 2 incredible year classes of walleye when there was no ice, virtually no ice on Lake Erie. But typically we always know, and you just mentioned it, a good year class of walleye and obviously perch comes from, a good thick layer of ice.
Yeah.
And when the lake is almost completely covered, as it was this year, we expect it to be an incredible year class. He was hesitant to say so because we've had such a great recruitment in the last couple of years when we had no ice. So he's not sold on the ice factor just yet.
Yeah. So it's funny how when you have a good walleye spawn, we have a bad perch spawn, and they're not spawning on top of each other. They actually spawn in different. Well, there is some main lake spawning walleye, but I'm 90% sure they do not spawn in the same areas. Walleye spawn on like coarser substrate, perch spawn on vegetation. Their eggs actually stick to plants. And so they're going to be spawning in like sandy areas with plants. So they're not spawning on top of each other. There's so many other drivers there that impact this, but they definitely seem to be working against each other. Yeah, what they don't mean to, but that seems to be what's happening, right? So it's pretty fascinating to me, to be honest.
100%. Now we get to the topic which everybody wants to know about when it comes to Lake Erie, because of course Lake Erie is known for its big smallies. It's known for its big fish in general. So they talk about sizes, and it's interesting to hear what this year, or at least the forecast for this year, is going to look like when it comes to the size of fish that are caught.
Population is down, but the size of the fish is just crazy. 6 is the new 5. That's my expression. Over the years, we have 1 8, we have I think 6 7s. I've lost count of the 6s now, and 5s are like, it's a 5. I mean, that never happened. And the perch population are huge. Some of them are big. And this little guy, the picture you're going to see on your screen right now, is this little guy from Ohio that caught, it was almost 15 inches. Yeah. And the patterns on it were absolutely beautiful. It weighed almost 2 pounds. It was crazy.
Last year it was an 11.5-inch average.
That's
in
crazy.
Terms of what anglers were catching in New York, that's huge. You don't see that anywhere else in Lake Erie.
Yeah. So I wonder if that correlation between big bass, big perch, and walleye, the size kind of on the smaller side, competition for food.
Yep, and just population. So we're seeing the opposite, as you said, with walleye. Walleye growth is actually declining, and people aren't catching fish that are as big as they used to.
Right.
So people that are winning tournaments, sometimes the fish that win the tournament isn't as impressive as it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Scotty. I don't know an angler out there that would be sad catching too many 11.5-inch perch. No one's going to complain about that.
Certainly not I.
Nobody.
Certainly not I.
No.
And to me, that's incredible when you see the numbers. When he talks about the sheer numbers and the time spent on the water to get a limit out in the Eastern Basin. Mark, this is in your neck of the woods. It's almost in your own backyard. You got to love hearing this kind of stuff when they start talking about the perch population.
Yeah, definitely. And, admittingly, I really love perch fishing, but I just don't do as much of it as I'd like to. It just seems to conflict with other things that are happening. So I generally don't perch fish much or at all in the springtime, just because Lake Ontario consumes me. Mm-hmm. And I often get out at least once or twice in the fall. I didn't last year. And, based on where we are, it's all about the wind. We're not as protected as Jay and the guys are inside Long Point Bay that can generally get out many more times than us. But no, when I can get out, the perch fishing on the Eastern Basin is very special. And it's fun to have nearby.
That's awesome.
I don't need to catch 50 11-inch perch.
I was going to say,
if I could catch a dozen 11.5-inch perch, that is a beautiful meal for the whole family. That's awesome.
Well, and it's funny too, just briefly, the last year, we typically start fishing for the perch in the fall, usually late September. And guys that were going out scouting for perch last year, they were disappointed because they were catching walleye in the perch spots. Because, again, there's just so many walleye around, but, whatever, 5 or 6 walleye, that's a lot easier to clean than 30 perch.
A freaking men. I could
Mark,
not.
we're getting buddies of ours who complain about catching too many walleye when they're bass fishing on Tecumseh Reef, right? Like, oh, boo hoo! I'm sorry for all those big walleye you're catching with your tube jigs. Like, come on, like if people want to go fish Erie now, like, and that's actually worth mentioning. Like, you don't have to go out into 70 feet of water to catch a limit of walleye.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's guys in tin boats going out on some of the deep spots on Tecumseh in 20 feet of water and with worm harnesses and doing very well for walleye.
Agreed.
Like, it is not that hard. And the walleye stats too, like, there's guys I know guys in Delhi, and I'm not going to name any names, but these guys barely know what side of the boat to fish on, the bottom or the top. And they're going out of Turkey Point and they're catching a limit of walleye on a Saturday morning. They're just going out running, like, man, they're just running Berkeley hit sticks, straight lining off the back.
Mm-hmm.
And they're catching a limit of fish, and they're back by noon having beers at the boathouse. Like, it is wild right now.
He had
you
mentioned,
have to be good. You have to be good at catching walleye to get a feed of walleye right now in Lake Erie.
He mentions in the video that there was a fish cleaning station. I can't remember where it was, but the sewer system got backed up, and literally they weren't allowing you to put anything down the drains anymore. You actually had to take your guts with you. But that's how much.
And then Jim said that there must be like record fat raccoons in the county where that cleaning station was.
Exactly.
Because everyone's dumping. That's one thing. I work in the rural areas of southwestern Ontario. So all along Lake Erie, you got Port Burwell, Port Bruce, Port Glasgow, Erio, Long Point, all those places. I see more walleye guts and ditches than anything other kind of garbage these days. Like, I'll just be going down a gravel road to check a site for work. There's a bridge and a creek, and I get my waders on, and I start walking down to the creek. I'm like, there's a pile of half-chewed walleye guts that the raccoons have been feeding on. Like, people are just this. It's a good problem to have, right?
Amen.
So,
and Terry, to your point, yes, I would have to say that we do have to revisit the limits. I can't speak to Northern Ontario. I don't know enough about what the perch population is up there, but I'd have to say, as Jay said, we don't need to be taking 50 perch home.
It gets back to what Mark mentioned when we started the show. We need more engagement with these fisheries management zone councils. There's enough anglers in each zone, like enough anglers that, well, one, enough anglers, but two, what you need in those FMZ councils is you need engaged stakeholders. Right. You need those fishing game clubs. Or a lot of times individuals. Like, I sat as an individual on the FMZ 17 council for a few years. And people from different backgrounds. You need muskie guys, walleye guys. You need the right agency people at the table. But you can really make some things happen. And because to have limits painted across the province where it's like 25 this and 50 of that, you can't manage lake by lake. I wish we could do that. That's too confusing. But it would be great if we could, because I think we could have some amazing fisheries in Ontario, but we can't do that. But at least manage it better zone by zone, because each zone is divided in a way because the zones are similar. Like, there's similar types of lakes, like whether it's shield lakes or rivers and streams. They're broken up in a way to mimic each other. Like, so FMZ 18 is the Rideau Lakes, FMZ 17 is the Kawartha Lakes, and then also like the Lake Ontario Tribs divided by the Oak Ridges Moraine. We need more of that in Ontario, and I wish, like in FMZ 20, they've survived them all. A lot of these councils have kind of come and gone, but FMZ 20 has had incredible engagement from both the stakeholders, like Mark, your good friend Shane has been on that council for 2 decades. But then they also get incredible support from the M&R out of Glenora. Like, those guys are at the table and they're active in the management, right? You can't do it without the agency help, right? So
true enough.
No, for sure.
Well, I want to thank Jim Hanley for putting this together. And of course, Josh is the name. Well, I forget what his last name is, who was joining him in this discussion. And again, we didn't get a chance to ask them for the footage, and we're hoping that they don't get too upset that we shared it and cut it up. But this has been a great discussion, not only about Lake Ontario, but of course, what Jim talked about, Lake Erie, and sort of what we can expect going forward for both lakes. But really, really cool. Now we have the pleasure, guys, as we wrap things up, we have a contest giveaway that we have to choose a winner of. It was the first fish of 2026, and how it worked was we started to post some of the great and generous vendors that helped out with some of the prizing. And each Thursday we were posting a video of their products. And in the comments, if folks did catch a fish, and it was their first one of 2026, they would post it in the comments. And what it did was it allowed the contest to go on for another week. I had promised everybody when we get a week where we don't get a submission, the following Monday, we would be doing the giveaway on CFN Live. So for all of those incredible vendors who have helped out and put some great prizes together for us, of course, you know, Ugly Boys, who you know down at your way, Mark, Blind Rage Baits. There's been a plethora of stuff that we've collected both at the Ottawa show and the Toronto show, and we're very lucky. And I'll tell you, we're over the moon at the support that they give our community. We truly appreciate it. But tonight, we get to give away this prize pack, which is quite a box of stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to win this. So let us share the screen. Let's get the name wheel up here. There was a lot of folks that entered, as we can see. Truly exceptional. I'll just have to take this down, and there we are. So Mark, as our guest, can you do me the honor? We always shuffle the wheel.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you to pick a number between 1 and 10, and that'll be the number of times that we shuffle the wheel.
5.
5 times. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Well, whoever it lands on is going to be the winner of a great prize pack that includes a Shimano Miraval reel and a plethora of stuff that is not only going to be good for you to target just about any species, but really all species. So I want to say thanks to all who joined, all who participated, and good luck. And let's find out who our winner is. Oh, wow. Patrick Perot.
Nice.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Congrats, Patrick.
Congrats, Patrick. And we will make sure that we get that prize pack out to you. I'll have to get your address first. But again, congratulations to all who participated and qualified. It was a great little contest to run, and certainly got folks out fishing the hard water. Hopefully we'll be able to do this, in the upcoming softwater season as well. But in the meantime, I want to thank both you guys for joining me. Mark, you especially, for taking the amount of time that you have. I know how busy you are, but again, thanks so much for joining us and spending some time here on CFN Live.
Yeah, no, good hanging with you guys. Maybe we'll check in midsummer and see how Lake Ontario and Lake Erie are doing.
That'd be great. Awesome.
Good. Jay, as always, my friend, always a pleasure to have you along. Thanks for this incredible broadcast. And as I said, it was a wealth of information, not only for anglers, but of course, some managers of tackle stores as well.
It was great. Great having you guys, and we'll see you next week, Scotty.
Absolutely. Love you all. Take care. Have yourselves a great week. Dave, it's time to take us away. All the best.
See you guys.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.